Are you listening? Damn.
And a big welcome back to the Endurance Hour podcast, episode 375er. Back alongside Kona coach and participant, Coach Wendy Mader. I'm Dave Erickson. Glad to have you with us as we are less than 2 weeks away from the return to the Big Island for thousands of athletes. And what's so cool about this year, ladies have their own day, men have their own day, so it's going to be a huge event. And did you get the email, Wendy, from Ironman about how to conduct yourself on the island and what to expect, because there's not twice as many people, but a lot of people, and how they are dealing with their own supply chain issues and such?
Yeah, so they really, I've gotten a lot of emails and then reading comments in other Facebook groups about being respectful, making sure that we all take time to, let's say we're going to go to the grocery store, take time at the checkout lines, make reservations if you can for dinner or lunch, whatever you're going to, because they're short staffed. Yep. And in Kona, you know that it's, they're on slower time anyways. They're more relaxed paced. And so being short staffed and then just having to deal with, athletes from around the world who may have a little, not be so patient, it could be really frustrating. So they're just asking us to plan more time. Let's say if we want to go to dinner and eat at 6, we might have to go at 4 or 5 because there might be a long wait if we didn't make reservations.
Yeah, one of the things I got from the message, and I used to live on Oahu for a little bit, is that even though we love to go there, we're excited about it, not everyone, not all the Hawaiians or the natives are excited about us being there. And we have to keep that in mind. Right. This is their home. This is an inconvenience for them. As much as we bring, I talk about the collective multi-sport community, bring in millions of dollars into their economy over that, let's say a 10-day period, before, after, and so on. Doesn't mean they want you there, even though it brings money into their economy. The fact that, we're still dealing with short staff, they're going to run out of things at the grocery store, at the restaurants. Mm-hmm. Supplies are going to be limited, and because there's more people there than usual, those supplies are going to go faster, and to be patient with what's available. Anyhow, I thought that was interesting, but it was a good email as a reminder to the non-natives, non-Hawaiians who are coming to visit there for the first time. And then there's also the international athletes who aren't familiar. So anyways, a lot of things going on to keep in mind. So was it 10 days as of this recording for you? No, actually almost a week, isn't it?
A week. I will race a week from today. Wow. Today is September 29th. I race October 6th. The men race October 8th. There are a few age group men racing on Thursday. I know the 25, I think it's a 20 to 25 age group, and then some older male age groups are racing on Thursday as well. And that male 25-ish goes last. So this year, a lot of history going on this year. One of them being, it hasn't happened in 3 years. This will be the second World Championship held in 2022 because they had the May 2021 World Championships held in May. They're going back to wave start time. So I start at 6:50 a.m., the 45 to 49 age group. So we're back to age group waves. That hasn't happened in a while because the last few years have been rolling starts. And again, way back when I did Kona, it was a mass start for years. It was just a one big mass start. And so it's a little bit different in that aspect. And then another historical part is Mike Riley. It'll be his last time announcing at the Hawaiian Ironman World Championships. And so a lot of changes going on this year. So it's going to be a little bit different. I'm personally a little disappointed at the wave starts because I'm someone who is a swimmer and I like to draft off the faster men in particular. Mm-hmm. And I like to get in a draft, and I know how to get in a draft in the swim. And so I don't know how that's going to pan out for me, and I'm going to be totally fine. I actually am also at the same time excited about the spread of athletes because then they're a little bit more spread out on the bike. And I'm really mostly looking forward to not having a bunch of men passing me on the bike, especially the first 10 miles that are in town, because usually I'm out of the water pretty quickly and then I get all these, faster guys passing me. And it's a little intimidating when they're going, I'm going 25 miles an hour downhill and they're going 45 miles an hour downhill. So I'm looking forward to kind of the women only. I think it's going to be a really good experience, less congested or not. Maybe there's just a few thousand women racing on Thursday and it'll still be congested, but the pacing and the speeds and not having men flying by you will be good for me mentally.
I don't recall swim waves at the World Championship in the past.
No, there never has been.
Okay, I thought you said
but like
it's coming back. Oh.
No, way back when I started triathlon. Some people who started triathlon within the last maybe 3 or 4 years have only done like rolling starts or have only done mass starts. I'm just talking about wave starts in general at 70.3s and 140.6. It's been years since I've actually done a wave start at any Ironman race. So I know what it's like. It's just different.
Yeah. And I guess, gosh, that's a tough part, because if you do a wave start, well, if you're in Kona, obviously you've most definitely, 90% of you have qualified. So you're already at an elite level. So making that 17-hour cutoff shouldn't be a problem. And I guess you get everybody in the water within a 45-minute window anyway. So I was just thinking about the cutoffs. Like, why, it's an advantage, kind of, but you don't know. Well, if you're in the same group of ladies, you kind of know where you are during the race.
Right. And that, for me, that's actually very helpful, because when it's a mass start of women, you just don't know. They haven't recently put ages on your calf, so you just don't know. Also, the pros, I think the pros start at 6:25 a.m. My wave is 6:50 a.m. I believe the last wave might be at around 7:30. And, just the wind conditions change.
Yes.
And at least they're the faster men going last. But the wind conditions change. And in your start time, if you get in the water at 6:30, you have until 6:30, 7:30, 9, 10. You have 2 hours and 10 minutes. If you get in the water at 7:30, you still have 2 hours and 10 minutes to get out of the swim. So it's a chip time. Now, if you start, this is an example that just happened in Augusta. If you start, let's say at 7 a.m. and the last wave is at 7:30, but you're starting at 7 a.m. and it takes you, let's say 2 hours. Oh, sorry, the time limit is 2:20. Let's say it takes you 2.5 hours. Well, because you started at 7 a.m. and there's still a lot of other waves possibly behind you, they might let you go on the bike.
Oh, without knowing it.
And then officially, yeah. And then when the swim is all said and done, they could give you a DNF on the Ironman tracker, and you don't know it because you're out on the bike. Even though you're DNF'd already, they're not going to come find you on the bike and say you're done. They're not going to pull you off the bike course. So this happened to a friend of mine in Augusta.
Oh, yeah.
He took it longer than an hour and 10 minutes on the swim. He took 1 hour, 11 minutes and 54 seconds. And immediately, pretty close to when he crossed the timing mat, or, a few minutes later, he was already out on the bike. Like, I saw him, I tracked him. He went out I'm like, oh my gosh, he went through T2. Oh my gosh, he's on the bike. Even though he did long swim, he just started behind the 45-minute waves.
Yeah.
So he didn't start dead last, even though he knew was going to be borderline time limit. And so he got to finish, and he finished under 8 hours, but there is that DNF on the Ironman tracker that he didn't finish.
Oh, he finished
officially
under the overall time cutoff, but didn't make the swim cutoff.
Yes. But he didn't make the swim cutoff, so there's a DNF by his name.
Oh, what a bummer. I think there should be an
What
exception.
a bummer.
If you're going to have waves, you still have the whole 8 hours.
Right. He did. No, well, because he DNF'd because he didn't make the swim.
I know,
he had a DNF by his name.
Yeah, but if he finishes it be below the overall cutoff time of 8 hours.
Oh.
But because it's a wave, I think there should be you should be allowed, because there's a wave start, to be a little slower if you need to, as long as you can make the full 8 hour cutoff.
Right. I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. So again, in my mind, he finished. In my mind, he finished under the official total time cutoff. He's happy he
God,
got
2
this
minutes.
finisher's medal. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a little bit of games you can play with these rolling start wave starts to,
And he got a medal.
whatever. That's all I'm going to say about it. And
He
he got
got
a
a
medal.
he got a medal. No one can take that away from him. But if he wants points
Right.
toward an all-world athlete status, he won't get one. Not
Right.
that he would if someone's well, it doesn't matter. He made it. Congratulations, you finished the race. Screw those 2 minutes.
Exactly.
Whatever.
He did it.
So where are we? Wow, I kind of like these. I like these conversations. I hope the listeners do as well. We go and we talk, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, how far are we in? And we haven't got to any questions per se yet. Like the T2 Endurance Club on Facebook, over 700 members there. It's a private group. We've got a couple of questions of the day and topics, and I wanted to get to this one. This is a post-race meal or snack, which everyone usually looks forward to because they're sick of the on-course nutrition and hydration options. So what do they want after the race is over? And so there's a nice list here of ideas. And a one Wendy Mater had a surprising answer to me. We'll get to that in a second. Here's a couple of them. Claudia says, a big old bacon cheeseburger post-race. I agree. A burger, something somewhat greasy would be kind of fun. And you've burned all those calories, so it's not going to be a big problem. You have it up right now, Wendy? Do you have it on your screen?
I don't have it on my screen.
Okay.
A lot of people said pizza.
Pizza, big one. Yeah. I've never heard of this Tailwind recovery shake or drink. Have you heard of that? What that is?
Yeah, because I used to drink Tailwind. It's a nutrition product. I do drink it in training, but it's not provided on the race day course. But Tailwind, it's like a Gatorade. I mean, it just comes up with different products of pre-training, during training, and post-training recovery shakes. And I have my own recovery shake, but that's not what I want after a race at all, because that's what I drink after my training sessions. So I would not want any, nutritional product, whether it's, Gatorade or post-Gatorade recovery drink or Tailwind. I wouldn't want that at all.
I can't remember the last time. I know I have, but I can't remember the last time I had soda or a Coke on course, and something that's usually done toward the end of the run. But if I have like the last half I did, they have burgers and chips and soda, and that was always very tasty. Is to wash down with their generic soda they have there. With a burger, for me, is like I want a burger, something dry, but also I can put some condiments on it, and then flush it down with some soda and some chips, and just sit there for a second and feel like I had I know it's not a healthy meal, but a meal versus all that liquid nutrition on the course. So one person said, pizza, but not a slice, the whole pizza. That makes sense. Egg muffin with added vanilla, collagen, protein powder, and cream cheese. Coffee with cream. I don't think this is actually the best recovery food, but it's what I want after a race. It's not about recovery food. It's about, rewarding yourself and going,
I think,
yeah.
Well, and I think all the grease and the sugar is a great recovery food because it's replacing the lost storage in your muscles. So if you eat like the fast food, sugary type products, it's just like a Coke. It's just going to go right to your muscles, and it's not going to help any repair process, but at least you're going to add that energy back into your muscles as glycogen.
The administrator and author of this question, Wendy Mater, says, I don't eat salad and veggies 24 to 48 hours before my event, and I eat one every day. So I prefer salad with vegan feta cheese, beets, artichoke hearts, various romaine and kale, tomatoes, peppers, carrots, and so on, plus some wine. Is that right? Pinot?
And I like to drink wine. So
post-race.
I'm a big salad person. I'm a big veggie person. And like I said in the post, I don't really eat a lot of veggies 48 hours before an Ironman, about 24 hours before other races. So that's what I want. That's what my body wants. And that's actually really good recovery food because it's nutrient dense food. And then I like to celebrate with a glass or two of wine. And so I try to have that stuff ready for me in my hotel or condo post Ironman. I'll snack on some chips so I can get something in my system right away. One year in Kona specifically, there was a Burger King right on Palani Drive, so within a half mile of the race. And I remember me and my parents went to this Burger King, and this is before I was vegan, and I got this chicken sandwich with cheese on it. And at the time, while I was eating it, it was really good. And during our 5 mile drive back to the condo, it wasn't so good. And I got really nauseous. I got like the turkey sweats, and I ended up, as soon as we got to the condo, I ended up vomiting it because my body just couldn't digest it. It could not process the cheese. And then I felt so much better. But then I'm like, oh, I would never have cheese pizza. I would never have any type of cheese product after a race because I had that experience. My body was just like, no, it does not want to process this food right now. So pizza is a pretty common thing to have at an Ironman event because it's cheap. They can buy cheap pizzas by the boxes and make sure everyone has something edible to eat after a race. So I would like a big thing of watermelon. If they had like a watermelon there, hydrating, filling, delicious, that would be good for me too.
It also depends on what the weather conditions are on the day. Because if you had a warm, heavy soup of some kind, a clam chowder if you're interested in something like that, or in some bread that you can dip into that soup. I don't know. That would be I say that because right now we have overcast and some light sprinkles. But on a hot day, absolutely, you probably want that watermelon just to bite into a crisp, flavorful piece of fruit.
Yeah, exactly.
Good question to get some interaction there on the group. Here's another one. I really like this, and I've thought about. After I read it, I was kind of going into my head of, I've done this before. I've seen people on the side of the road in a race who are dealing with a flat, who maybe don't have the proper equipment with them, or forgot, or ran out. And there was a classic case way back in the day. People who remember who Chrissy Wellington was, when it may have been one of her first Ironmans, and she had a flat, and she mismanaged her CO2 cartridge process of putting it on, and it blew out. She lost all her air, so she couldn't fill up her tire. And so she's asking people, if they have CO2 or something as they're driving by or riding by. And eventually the word gets down the road, and someone was able to drop off her CO2, because athletes can help athletes, but you can't get outside help during a race. So the question of the day was, during a race, if you see a friend or teammate of yours who has a flat and no tube or CO2, would you stop to give them yours or continue riding and then just hope they get the support they need in time? What spurred on this question? Kona?
I was talking to an athlete who was racing. I think it was an athlete racing Augusta, or it was an athlete this weekend racing Muncie, just coming up with scenarios, to prepare, to prepare themselves. And then I asked the question about for friends and family, because one year, it was at Ironman Lake Placid, 2011. I was on Team Timex, and one of the professionals, it was Lisa. I can't remember Lisa's last name.
Roberts?
She's from Canada.
Oh, from Canada. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was.
Well, she's moved to Arizona
Lisa
since.
Roberts, but
no.
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe, yes. Anyways, a long time ago, I rode by her. She was on the road. I slowed down. I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "I have a flat." And I personally always carry double of everything, because if I'm in a situation where I'm changing my flat and the tube blows up or the CO2, I mismanage that. At least I have enough for me. And I just kept riding. And during the ride, I'm like, oh, dang it. I guess I should have gave her some of mine. And at the same time, for that particular race, I think I didn't have two. So if I gave her mine, then I wouldn't have had any. I can't remember. But I felt bad. I felt like, oh, maybe I should have helped her out. And then at the same time, I'm like, she's a professional. She's probably going to get bike support very quickly, being a pro, and she'll probably be okay. But that question's always on my mind because it happened to me and I didn't provide her help. And so it's always on my mind. So I posted it in the group to see what other people, how they would respond.
My story, and I told this a number of times because you bring it up there, and I'm getting ready for Arizona, is that Arizona 2013, the last time I did it, the only time I did it, I had a flat. Finishing up the first loop of the bike, I had a flat, and I had the race wheels and the deep dish, and the tubes I had short stems. So
Mm-hmm.
I had the proper equipment. I had equipment, but not the proper equipment, and I was really frantic. And I think a lot of stress, adrenaline, and you can freak out. And I was like, oh, I'm cussing, probably cussing, going, oh my gosh, I can't get the CO2 on top of this short stem. And I was really upset about it because it was real simple. I've even forgotten to charge on an Olympic, I think it was an Olympic race. I hadn't charged my Di2 the night before. I mean, I hadn't charged it in a while. So when I get to the race,
Right.
I was stuck in one gear, and it was so, it's one of those slow blinks going, are you serious? I can't believe.
Yeah.
But it was one of those obvious, not obvious things, but it's like, oh, I got to remember, take some inventory of what I have here and go through all the steps. Anyhow, so I luckily I got support, race support came by and gave me, was it? It must have been the right tube. Yeah, because I didn't get a new tube. Anyhow, here's some answers. Kirsten, I would give them mine and hope for the best, but I do think everyone should carry extra with them. I have 2 tubes and 2 CO2s with me. Do you have this up on screen, or should I keep on reading?
Keep on reading.
Riva, I did it for a stranger yesterday at Augusta 70.3. We were at the last aid station, and he asked if someone had a tube, and I gave him mine. So it is probably also situational where you are in the race on what you're willing to give up, and where you are maybe in contention if you care. But it's a risk.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Stephen,
That's a really good point. Yeah.
even if not a friend, I always ask if they need help. I have stopped at 2 races to help someone. One case, I gave them my CO2 cartridge. Then once I got back on my bike, I thought, oh, I hope I don't need one, because that was my only one. Patrick, give them one, and if I see support vehicle, let them know my bike flat. Let them know bike flat X miles back, just to make sure that they get all the help they need. Katie, give them mine and ask why don't they don't have one. And then Christy says, yes, I would. Moral of the story, carry
that
double.
just reminded me. Yeah, moral of the story, carry double. That just reminded me, and this is a random. One time I was doing Lubbock, Texas, which is now, I believe, called Texas 70.3. And there's some parts of the course where you're going uphill, kind of in and out of this canyon. And there's some fast ascents. And one time I saw someone actually go off the road. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I wonder how he went off the road. Is he like tumbling down?
Yeah.
And I stopped at the next aid station, and I told them they need to send an ambulance up there. But yes, that stuff is free. I think it's a good reminder that guide said that he would stop and tell tech support that there's a flat tire a few miles back. I think that's a good thing to do.
I remember there was, I think it was a 70.3 Coeur d'Alene, and our friend Roger was in the race, and he was leading the bike as he usually does, but he had a flat, and I think I saw him going, because it was out and back for this race. It may have been anyway. I saw him on my way out, and I saw him on the left hand side of the road because he's coming back. Luckily, he had 2 people with him, and he was trying to fix his flat. And I remember going, "Oh gosh, he was leading, and now he's dealing with this issue here. Do you need anything?" Like I would have stopped for a friend who I know was in contention for something like that. And that's the tough part. It's like if you are racing, it's like, what do you do? Do you take a chance of stopping? But if it's someone who I know and respect and I want them to do well, I'd rather have them do well than me do well in the big picture. Yeah, I'll stop and give them what I have. But if you can say something to somebody, and then if you can't stop, because you only have one, but you can keep an eye out for support, like that person says, then tell them, hey, there's somebody else that needs some help. But
to me, I think in the back of my mind, good karma. So I've talked about my broken chain in Ironman Coeur d'Alene, 2008. I had a broken chain, and previously, before the race, I had 2 broken chains. So this is my 3rd broken chain in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. So it was just a random thing. And people were like slowing down and are being like, "Are you okay?" And I'd hold up my chain, and just the looks on their faces were just like, "Oh my gosh,
You're screwed,
we feel
right?
so bad for you." And who carries a spare chain?
No, nobody.
But it's just a reminder for those out there. Most races, if not all, have bike support, and they'll eventually be around, or the race official will be around, because the race official saw me and he ended up calling bike support. So then it was just a waiting game. And I was in nowhere near any aid stations to be able to like go back to. And I didn't have a chain, so I couldn't ride. So it's good to know that there is bike support out there, and it's just a matter of waiting. So that's usually like if I had any fears about racing, it's always getting a mechanical on the bike course. And going into Kona in 1 week, I'm just like, you know what? Flats happen, mechanicals happen. I've experienced both in a race, and I'm just going to be patient, knowing that it may slow me down, but I'm still going to get support sometime, and I'm still going to be able to finish that race no matter what.
I was on the bike recently watching one of the Ironman World Championship races. I believe it was the 2019 race in Kona. And Lucy Charles Barclay, she was in the lead, and she made the turn at Javi, and I think that's when it happened, and she lost one of her bottles of nutrition. And in the commentary, because behind her was, what's his name? The one always wins now.
Daniela?
No, the woman, the female, who's just awesome. I'm typing in right now. I'll get her. Oh yeah, you said Daniela. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Yeah, Daniela was on the way, and she was already 10 minutes back out of the water, but she was making up ground. And so the commentators were saying, should she stop and take the chance of 30, 45 seconds or a minute to go back and get this special bottle of nutrition? And she decided not to. Well, she ends up getting caught by Daniela Reef. But what would you do if you lost? How important is nutrition? I know they have the aid stations every 10 miles or so, but if you drop nutrition as an athlete, what do you do, knowing that you have 10 miles to go to the next aid station, for example?
Right. So that's a great question. I thought if you drop a bottle, or if you abandon, or you drop anything, it's called abandoned equipment. So if a race official sees something like a bottle come off your bike and you don't stop and get it, I believe you're going to get a penalty for abandoned equipment. I could be wrong because I briefly read something last week, is if you intentionally drop something, it's abandoned equipment. If an accident happens, then it's not. And again, it all has to do with a race official actually seeing you. So if you litter, you're going to get a penalty. And so for me, if I'm about to place my water bottle like on my down tube and I miss it and it falls and I know I'm not going to get a penalty for that, I'll let it go because I can rely on the nutrition on the race course. And I know I'm going to be okay waiting another half hour or so before I can eat or drink again. So it's a good thing to think about. It's a good thing to prepare for sure. And know what you're going to do instead of waiting till it happens. Know, if this happens, what am I going to do? What would you do?
Well, it depends on which bottle it was. I was just thinking about this. I have two bottles I keep on my bike. One, and it's kind of, all my eggs in one basket kind of thing. One of them is all a nutrition / hydration bottle. I've talked about this, where I put all my gels, and it's kind of gross. Let's say I put, for a half Ironman, I'll put 9 gels in there in a bottle of 24 ounces of water, shake it up real well. It's still going to be gooey and gross, mostly. But that's my nutrition bottle. The other bottle cage is for just hydration, just for water, straight up water, so I can rinse it out or whatever.
Okay.
So and I put a black piece of tape around it, a duct tape, so it's a little stickier, easier to hold on to, but also grips inside the bottle cage a little better too. And that's my main bottle, my main water for nutrition, my bottle for nutrition. If that were to fall out, I feel like I'd be that's the one I'm relying on, and I'm timing every 15 minutes. Take a big swig of that one, and then I'll supplement it with water. If that fell out, depends where I am in the race. I would have to make a decision right then and there. If it's early, I gotta go back and get it because that's part of my plan through the day.
Right.
What I was thinking here. So that you're talking about nutrition. Would you drop it, pick it up? Now I've lost track of what I was thinking about. Yeah. If it's early on, I'd pick it up. If not, Oh, this is what I was thinking about. Sorry if I yelled the microphone. I was covering the one and only Ironman New York in 2012. And one of the athletes, and I think it was Mary Beth Ellis, she had a bottle in the aero bars. And the roads they were on, there was a big gap between, big sections of road. So not a pothole, just a crease in the road. But it was a big enough raise where it jolted her bike and the bottle fell out while she's riding. So this big bottle, and that's a danger. The person's behind her, but she lost a bottle of water that way or whatever she had in there. So obviously that'd be an accident. You can't really penalize her for that because it was a road condition that caused it to bounce out.
Right.
It was either her or Meredith Kessler, who I saw, and I've done this since, put their nutrition bottle in their kit on the upper around their neck and down into their chest area to hold the bottle. And that was, I think I saw Meredith do that in a run. If you have a small enough bottle, it's not a big deal. But on the bike, it's a good spot to put it as a safety or as a double up while you're getting other nutrition, other hydration. So it depends on how many kgs you have in your bike. You can pop one in your chest, in your kit, drink something, and you have one you can put back in your bottle. If you want to, let's say you want to get 3 bottles, if you need that many, put one in your cage, put one in your chest in your kit, take one more, douse yourself, throw it back before you leave the trash area, and then put that one from your kit into your cage, kind of like a safety.
Yeah.
But you also, if you've done this or tell me about this, is if you're running, you can put gels around your thigh, under your kit of your thigh, as a spot to hold it too.
I usually put my nutrition. Yeah, I usually put it in up my thigh or down my sports bra in front.
Yes. As a kind of a smart, and
it's just,
use your body.
It's just on my body. It's not going to bounce off. I'm not going to lose it.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of kit you have. If you have any pockets, there's always a good pocket around your thigh because that should be pretty tight. And then around your chest for a bottle, and your hands are free that way. I don't like to run with a bottle in my hand or even a small 4-ounce flask. Do you?
No.
Yeah.
No, I have in the past, but I don't anymore.
I feel like I go faster without anything in my hands.
I do too. Because I'm usually running and training. I'm usually running with my phone. I run with my phone, more for safety than anything else. And then times where I don't, and I'll just if I'm driving somewhere and I'm running somewhere and I leave my phone in the car, I do feel faster. I feel like it's freeing. I'm not carrying anything. I'm not thinking about don't drop your phone. I'm not thinking about don't drop your keys. I just don't have anything. And I definitely have, when I do long runs, I wear a vest, a hydration pack, and I'm very comfortable with that because I'm not holding a water bottle. Because I used to hold water bottles a lot. That was more comfortable for me to hold a water bottle compared to a waist belt. I don't like waist belts at all. But the hydration pack is great. Even when I go on shorter runs and I want to carry something, I'll just fill my hydration pack with just a little bit of water. I don't fill it with 2 liters. I'll fill it with maybe a half liter just to get me through the hour and a half run, and I'm fine.
Yeah, I have not a fanny pack, but it's a very skinny, stretchy belt that I can adjust and make tighter that I wear around my waist. That fits just perfect for my phone, and it's tight enough where it doesn't bounce around. And because of Bluetooth and the headphones I wear, that's perfect. But if I have to hold my phone, it's or a water bottle, and I'll do this on my route. I'll plan certain out and backs where I'll bring my water, but I'll put it at that one spot. So I'm going to go 2 miles that way or 3 miles, 2.5 miles that way and come back. That's where the water, I can think about, now I know at mile 6.5, I'm going to go this far and I need to come back, and that's where my water will be so I can get some, drink. But it feels like once I put it down, I can just run now. I can just get on.
Yeah, that's a good
pilot.
idea.
Odd topic, but since that's our podcast all about today, is getting into not exactly a flow state, but running and not thinking where it becomes easy. And I'm guessing from you, based on your recent mileage over the last 3 weeks, for example, that you put in some big miles. Do you get into a phase where you're almost on automatic pilot when you run, and next thing you know, you've forgotten that you just ran 1.5 miles? Do you ever get into does that ring a bell at all?
Yeah, a lot. I do a lot of recovery runs, easy runs for mileage. And those are the runs where, I'll start my watch and just go run. and I won't necessarily have any clear loop or direction. I'll just be like, ooh, I've never been down that road. I wonder what's down there. Or, oh, wow, there's a trail. I didn't know there was a dirt trail. I'm going to go explore this dirt trail right by my house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I don't really necessarily keep track of any type of pace or distance per se. I'm more going for time and easy effort. And so that happens to me actually quite frequently. That's why I enjoy running. I enjoy running these easy runs because I earn, for me, in my mind, I earned it, the easy run. Ooh, I did my intensity run yesterday, so today's an easy run. I earned it. I'm going to go enjoy it because I really love to just run and not to run with any other specific details other than to just go enjoy a run.
Boy, just by saying that mentally, I'm going for an easy run. I think it sets you up. This is me just being psychological, sets you up for a better experience because you've already told yourself, you've primed yourself, today's going to be an easy run. So your attitude should be a lot, lighter. I'm going to go out and just, and this reminds me of just last week. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do, Wendy. I am following the advanced Ironman training plan. That's a 12-week plan. And now I'm 7.5 weeks away. When I go on these long runs, I just kind of, this last one I'm doing on Friday, I thought, okay, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go for 2 hours, but I play games with myself. I'm going to go do a warm up to the left of the house. I'm going to try to get a mile and a half in before I start my run. So I'm almost like banking extra miles. And then I'm going to go out for a 2-hour run. So in a way, I'm setting myself up for success by going to put in a little time over here, but that doesn't count, even though it is counting. And then I'm going to go out and I'm going to feel, go out and see how I feel. And then I'm going to get to a point where I'm 6 miles away from home, but I've already banked 1.5 miles or 2 miles earlier. So now if I'm 6 miles from home, I got 6 miles back. I've already increased my potential for mileage. And so that's what I did last week. And that's when I got into a couple of these miles where I go, I forgot what I just did. That's how I'm just relaxed. Did I just do another mile and a half? Sweet. I don't even look around. It's like I'm just into a rhythm. And I thought to myself, you know how you do your own race reports in your head before you're done? I was thinking about how would I explain this run to somebody? I'm like, oh, I just did another mile and a half in that direction, which means I got 1.5 miles that I'm going to get back, which means 3 miles. So I'm always playing these games like if I go another half mile away, I've increased my overall miles by 1 mile. And I ended up doing 15 miles. And it's like, I wasn't planning to do 15 miles that day. I was planning to do 12 or 13. But it got further and further. Like, if I go one more half mile, or if I go to the end of this street, if I go to the end of this road, now I've increased my overall time. These play little games. And I know at the end, I'm winning in a way. Like I've earned this run, like you said, earned.
Yes. Right. And I do the same thing. So there's been a couple runs where I run on, it's called Big Green Parkway, Big Creek. And it's a greenway. So it's mainly a bike running path, concrete. It goes in many directions. And then there's also some trails by it. So because I'm training for a road marathon, I've been spending some time there. And I reward myself. I say, okay, if I get this 8, 10, 12, 16 mile run done on the concrete, then I get to go enjoy the trail as my recovery. And so this happened to me the other day. I did 10 miles on the greenway concrete. And I said, it was a quick 10 miles. I'm like, ooh, I just earned 2 miles easy on the trail. And so that's, again, to me, it's all about a reward because I don't like running on the concrete at all. And so it's really helped me. And I love running on the trails. So whatever you love, or whoever is listening to this, always reward yourself with something for checking off the box of getting in something that you weren't necessarily looking forward to. Like running, for me, it's running on the concrete. So yeah, rewards. And again, I got in more mileage because of my reward of trail running.
And here's a reward that I do is because of where I live, I always have the hills in the early part of my run. And I find hills when I'm freshest. Like I'm going to do some of these little climbs that are going to slow my pace. But the reward is, in a way, I get to go downhill when I finish on the day, on the run.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Even though it's a reward, I call it, it's like easy miles. I'm still tired. So in a way, even though I'm going to average super fast on the way home, the last 2 miles are going to be downhill. I'm still
Uh-huh.
tired. So even though I'm
Uh-huh.
going faster, I feel like I'm still working, even though I'm fatigued. It's a reward. I'm going downhill, but I've already put in 2 hours. So, is it really a
Uh-huh.
reward? It is, but I'm still fatigued.
Hmm.
So I don't mind that.
A reward could be fatiguing. A reward could be, I just want to finish this race. That's my reward. My reward is the finish. My reward is the pace. My reward is whatever your reward is. It's going to be different depending on the circumstance. And even though you're tired, it's still, yeah,
It's
it
still
gets you
hard.
through it.
It should
Whatever.
be harder at
Yeah,
the end of your
it's a
run.
mental thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just something mentally to help overcome the fatigue.
Yeah.
And just the term reward is rewarding to use that word reward.
Yeah. Totally.
Definitely mental.
All right. With this 7 days, you say you race in 7 days.
Yeah.
Probably. What time do you say you start? Six what?
I probably start my wave in 2 minutes. I start my wave at 6:50. I
Yep.
start my wave at 6:50 a.m. Kona time, which is 12:50 p.m. Or Atlanta time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm three
So
hours.
right now
So,
it's 12:48.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's 12:48. So I start my race
7 days and 2 minutes.
exactly 7 days and 2 minutes.
Wow. Okay. We'll finish off with this. As someone who's leading up to a full distance Ironman, 7 days away, what does the next 4 days of training look like for you? Clearly in taper mode.
Tomorrow's an off day because I'll be traveling all day
Hmm.
to Kona. Saturday, I'm usually pretty tired the first 48 hours
Time difference
because
too.
of traveling, time difference. I don't really sleep. So let's say I'm landing at 5:15 on Friday. That's really 11:15 Atlanta time. And
Hmm.
I'd already be in bed by then. So the time change throws me off, throws off my sleep rhythm, and it takes me a few days. I will swim for sure on Saturday, and I'll pick my bike up at noon. The time frame is between 12 and noon at Tri Bike Transport. So depending on my fatigue level, I may just pick up my bike, take a nap, and then maybe just go out for a spin just to check out my bike, make sure nothing's wrong with it, because I have time in case I need to go to the bike shop.
Hmm.
Sunday, there's an actual swim, a 2.4 mile race course swim that I've done in the past. So it's something that you pay for and register for. I'm doing that. I'm just going to cruise it just to get in a nice swim and recovery. And then for sure, and then I register actually right after the swim. I'll go pick up my packet because you had to sign up for a time that you were going to go get your packet.
Mm-hmm.
And then for sure, I'll go for a ride on Sunday out on the course. I'm going to have a car, so either I'll drive myself or my sister or my mom will drop me off somewhere on the course and I'll go for a ride. And then I'll just chill out. And then Monday, another swim, probably an easy jog because I hadn't jogged at this point. Easy run, easy swim, short. Monday, and then Tuesday is the Parade of Nations. It's the underpants run is Tuesday morning. And I probably won't really do anything that day because I usually take 2 days off before a race. And then Wednesday, the day before the race, I'll do a short swim, maybe 500. Maybe there's going to be a coffee bar. I'm not sure this year. And then I'll just do a little 15-minute spin on my bike just to check everything out again. And then I'll do a little run, maybe a mile run is typically what I do the day before a race. And then that's it.
Pretty
That's easy.
routine. I mean, this is a kind of a checklist thing
Pretty routine.
that you've done
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah, definitely very routine. So a lot of it, again, it's all up in the air. Swimming doesn't take anything out of me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I swim more frequently than anything else. And if I'm still tired Saturday and Sunday, I'll skip the ride because tapering's all about reducing fatigue. And if I'm already tired just due to travel and time change, then I'll be like, I'll skip the ride. Maybe I'll just do a couple miles just to check out my bike and make sure everything's working, but I won't go out on the course and ride. And if it's really extremely windy, like dangerous windy, I won't go ride because there's no reason to be out in that type of wind before the race. What's the point? I already know what wind is like. I don't need to put myself through any dangerous wind conditions.
How close are you to the race start? Physically? Where's your hotel?
Half mile.
Oh, really? That close?
It's a half mile. It's a half mile. Yeah. So when I booked, I really wanted a condo and everything was full. And I started looking right away last November and everything just was full. And I'm like, maybe there'll be some cancellations, but with 3 years worth of athletes, athletes have booked in 2019, probably kept rebooking the same place. And I wanted to be close to the start, and the closest condo was 5 miles away or further. And I decided that's not what I want. My priority was being as close as possible to the start. So we're staying at the Holiday Inn. I don't think the Holiday Inn has ever existed. So I think the Holiday Inn bought some hotel that was close to the start. So we're going to be pretty much across from the host hotel, which is the King Cam, which is now maybe owned by Marriott. So we'll be pretty close to that. I've never stayed this close. I'm usually a few miles out. And so I'm looking forward to being this close so I don't have to drive anywhere. The only time I'll have to drive is if I want to drive my bike and go ride out on the course. Otherwise, everything's within walking distance.
And then people are supporting you, with your sister or whoever, your mom, going to be there to run errands for you or get food for you so that you can stay off your feet. What's that plan?
Yeah. So my mom and my sister will be there. I'll go everywhere because I know where everything is. It's not far. I mean, I don't mind walking because, again, I like the active recovery stuff. It stretches out my legs. It keeps me loose. I'm not going to be walking miles and miles and miles, but getting up and going for a mile walk to go to the grocery store. And then maybe getting up and doing a mile walk in the evening, just a little light walking like that, I think is very beneficial especially for someone like me who's used to walking a lot. And I'm just used to commuting places, and my body's used to that type of activity throughout the day. And so I'm just I'm really glad I'm close to everything, and I'll be part of every event that's going on this year. There's been previous years I've gone and I haven't gone to all the events. Like the last few times I've been in Kona, I didn't go to the welcome dinner, which is held on Tuesday night this year. And I'll go to the welcome dinner because it's just going to be different,
Yeah.
It's just going to be different because there's so many new things going on this year. So it'll be fun. Plus
it'll be your last one for a while based on what your goals are or your other things that you want to accomplish physically.
Yeah. So, I'm going into this with, this is my last Kona for a while. I'm just going to, take it all in. I am going to race, but it's not just about the race. I'm going for the whole experience more than the race. I really want to soak it in because I don't plan on being back for a while. And so I want to make sure I do the things that I've never done before. By being on the Big Island.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Well, how can people follow you?
Ironman Tracker.
Yes. Sure. A lot of people.
I don't even know. I used to follow people on ironmanlive.com, which was on my computer. I don't even know if you can do that anymore. I think it's just the Ironman Tracker that you have to download to your phone.
Yeah. I have it too. Probably still have it on here somewhere.
And Ironman in the past has had something called Facebook Live event. Yeah. I don't remember the exact name. Ironman Now, which is usually a Facebook Live. I've watched races on Facebook all day long before. I remember one time I went to Ironman Louisville a few years ago, and I was there watching the race in person, watching my friends and athletes I coach. And then while they were out on the bike course, I was in my hotel room watching the race online because it was rainy weather that year and I didn't want to be outside all day. And so I don't know if they're going to have this Ironman Now, Ironman Facebook Live. I don't know anything about that right now.
It's probably going to be something big with their big return. I'm sure they have some sort of big social media plan for coverage, and boy, it's going to be crazy. It'll be fun to keep track.
Yeah. It is going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because I'm pretty relaxed about it because I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad this is not my first one. Even though my first one in 1997 was pretty chill because I was young and naive, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know anything, and I ended up having a great time. So I'm just glad I'm experienced. I know where to be when, and I don't want to miss out on all the fun activities.
Just looking at the calendar, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do a pre-Kona chat, but this might count as that. So if we don't have a podcast next week, we're going to have one in 2 weeks, the week of the 10th, after Wendy gets back, to do a recap, most likely on the 13th. So we'll see how next week goes with both of our schedules. I mean, your priority is that and taking in the events and the experience. So we'll just Wendy and I will keep in touch if we can make that possible. If not,
well,
yeah.
And we'll be on different. You'll be 3 hours. I'll be 3 hours ahead of you.
Yes.
I'll be 3 hours behind you. I'll be 3
me.
hours behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it'll be a switcheroo.
Yeah.
I'm 3 hours ahead of you, and then I'll be 3 hours behind you.
Yeah, it may not work out on talking to you beforehand, but this counts for now.
Okay.
Well, with that, let's wrap up this. We didn't really get any questions per se, but we got a lot of interesting things we hopefully can share with you and talk to you about as Wendy leads up to the Ironman World Championship. So for Kona coach Wendy Mayer, I'm Dave Erickson. Thanks so much for listening this week. Have a great week of racing, recovery, or training. See you next time. Adios. Aloha.
Adios. Aloha.